Tokozani Makos. Greetings, everyone. My spirit, my ancestors, the vibes have been telling me to use my voice because that's something that I really haven't been doing for a while in a number of ways. And so I'm here to use my voice and to share and to speak, and prayerfully that will come together in a way that resonates with you, that adds value to your mind, body, and spirit at this time. I just want to share some reflections. Spirit speaks to me in many different ways. The ancestors speak to me in many different ways. And a lot of times it's day-to-day situations. A lot of the times it's conversations that just flow, as well as dreams and messages and esoteric things. So for those of you who are new here, I am Makhosi Gogo Thule. I am a medicine woman, but simply I just consider myself a woman who's on a journey of healing myself and sharing the inspiration like a muse with one another, with community, with all of you. So I want to share just some reflections or some messages or some inspiration around just the collective energy that I have felt at this time through my individual experiences, through my community experiences, major lessons of this year, major reflections of this year that I know will be great teachers for us for life. One of the first things that I've just been noticing energetically for all of us, winter tends to be a time of year that like takes us into the cave of the ego, if you ask me. The deep introspection, the needing to slow down. Yes. Shadows or uncomfortable feelings coming up. Things that need to be addressed. Yes. To be deeply contemplated so that we can birth a new year or a new reality, especially in the spring, that's just in alignment with the next lessons and the next blessings that are awaiting us. And one of the first kind of messages that I want to share at this time is the energy of duality and what can help us resolve duality. A lot of us, I feel, are sensing in some way being pulled in two directions. And the ancestors have been speaking to me a lot this year about the sacredness and the divination of numerology. And for those of you or those of us who are feeling a deep polarity or duality, you're experiencing the lessons and the teachings of the number 2. And one of the ways that the ancestors showed this to me was just seeing how the grandmothers and the grandfathers sit within us, or seeing how the divine masculine and the divine feminine sit within us. And a lot of times these two energies can be very polarizing, especially in this time where I believe Mars is in retrograde. There are a lot of deep lessons about our masculinity and its shadows and its divinity that are coming up at this time. But however way or form or words that it's showing up for you, if you're feeling pulled in two directions, if you're feeling this sense of like challenge in a certain aspect of yourself, or deep shadows that are revealing themselves, things that are uncomfortable, the spirits are showing me how much the number 3 is the resolution to the number 2. From an indigenous perspective, and also a metaphysical perspective, the number 3 represents so many things, from Mother, Father, Child, the Holy Trinity, from Maiden, Mother, Crone, these concepts that show us the cycles of and the initiations that we go through in life. And from an indigenous perspective, when there's polarity between the parents, right? The number 2, the superhero, the number 3 is the inner child. And the way that they showed this to me was in seeing a person holding the energy of the divine, or of the masculine energy, and seeing the energy of the feminine energy in conflict. And right now there's one of the ways that this Mars energy or this masculine energy feels is that it feels the need to assert itself by casting spells. Yes. Mm-hmm. And we need to pay deep attention to how our shadows have been casting spells. Yes, especially in a way of, because, for me, in some ways, the masculine, the divine masculine carries the spear and is the warrior. Although all, feminine, masculine, we can all hold all of these archetypes. But the way that the energy feels right now is that the masculine energy is holding the spear and it's turning it against itself. Yes. And thus pointing it also at the feminine energy. And in this vision, there was this spell that the masculine energy was casting and getting ready to throw at the feminine. And I felt myself in the role of the child. And I saw this energy happening and preparing to be exchanged between these two dualities. And I, in the spirit of innocence, in the spirit of laughter, just moved that energy up into the heavens. Makhosi. And I really, this year, one of the messages that has been coming through really strong is that our inner child is the superhero that is going to save the world. And when you think about it, in this concept of the Holy Trinity, if you're able to see things from at least three perspectives, if you're able to see things from a space of innocence, from a space of playfulness, and a space of not taking things too seriously, but knowing what is important. A lot of times children can have this perspective, this perspective that it's like they can see into their parents or they can see into the adults and know that like, y'all are making this way too hard. It's much easier to do like this. I feel like our inner child has solutions or an imagination that can see another way forward. Yes. Mm-hmm. That can recognize how things have been done in the past or how the adults, those conditioned parts of ourselves have decided that things need to be and step into a space of imagination that can bring an evolution. Mm-hmm. Not forcefully to say that this parent is right and this parent is wrong. Yes. But to offer another way. Mm-hmm. To appreciate or to recognize what is happening in the space with brighter eyes. Yes. So one of my encouragements and one of the things that is encouraging me at this time is where there is difficulty, where there is duality, where there is resistance, where there is deep shadows, that the inspiration is to tap into and meditate on the inner child, to see what is the third perspective that I am not allowing in this moment. Mm-hmm. Where how can I tap into a space of playfulness and not taking things too seriously? Yes, and be a part of the resolution from within, and as well as in terms of my environment or my community. Yes, and the other people around. So that is kind of the first reflection that I wanted to share. And yeah, 3 is the answer to the number 2. The next thing that's kind of been deeply on my mind is, I've been deeply processing a lot of shadowy things within and without. And, I've been thinking about these 3 things, 3 shadows that I've noticed that are really deep and can be very detrimental. And I was thinking about them so deeply that I was like, man, this kind of gives me the vibes of like how Christians speak about like the 7 deadly sins. And I wanted to share like 3 deadly shadows that we all need to take responsibility for and come into clear awareness of, in terms of where the mirror is for you and where the mirror is in terms of the people around you and what you accept into your space. Yes. For me, the 3 deadly shadows of this time and of this that I've learned deeply from this year is jealousy, entitlement and control. Yes. The spirit of, and I really want to speak a little bit, just a little bit, and the rooster crows, to affirm, just to speak a little bit about these three shadows. Yes. Because for me, in a lot of ways, like, our society is set up to accept and welcome and feed these shadows in ourselves. There's so many ways that these things are accepted as normal. Yes. When they deeply speak to a lack of integrity, and they deeply say things about our character and our morality. And if there's one thing that our elevated ancestors care deeply about, it's our moral character. How we can improve our character, how we can expand our perception of our identity. Because to me, ultimately, that's what ancestral healing or ancestral elevation is about. How we heal these parts of ourselves that identify with things that create destruction in our lives in a way that makes us or keeps us ill. Yes. So jealousy, and I speak first because I feel like there's just so much, with social medias or the ways that we interact with our one another and communities and families, and there's just so much, there's so many reasons to compare. There's so many reasons to look at what you have versus what someone else has. Yes. And there's been so much division and scarcity in terms of resources in our world, and especially in this time where people are struggling in a lot of different ways, that the spirit of jealousy can easily seep in to our minds and the way that we're thinking about things, the way that we're thinking about ourselves, and the way we're thinking about other people. And I remember, jealousy to me is not a thing that I really spent a lot of time thinking about consciously. Especially when it comes to people being jealous of me, it's like I never understood it. I remember many years ago, in a dream, I was walking through like a stadium, and I felt in the entire crowd that I was walking up the stairs around just like this energy of jealousy. And I got into a space away from the crowd where I had to literally pray to shift and lift that energy. And even at that time, given that vision, I was like, okay, cool. I'll say that prayer if I find myself in this situation. But I'm not the best at recognizing those situations. And but this year I've really seen how much damage we do to ourselves and that we do to one another through the shadow or the spirit of jealousy. Yes. How much we don't recognize opportunities to band together. Yes. Or to heal the structures in our society or in our families, in our conditioning that have set up, the energy of jealousy and allowed for it to divide us. Yes. And to allow us to harm one another. I'm just stepping into a space where like that shadow is not okay to entertain. Yes. That shadow is one that needs to be seen. To me, one of the things about shadow work is that there's these things that are hiding in the dark, that are doing everything in their power to not come into the light. So vulnerability, transparency, and the ability to confess or admit, yes, in order to let go, yes, in order to transcend and in order to elevate is really important. The other word that has been a deep, or shadow that has been a deep lesson, is the spirit of entitlement. Yes, the spirit or the shadow of entitlement is one that is connected to jealousy, but in an interesting way is one of the most, it's one of the, a deep blockage in terms of being able to connect to your inner child. And I just spoke about how like the inner child is a superhero. And there's a lot of wounds that sit within the energy of the channel of our inner child. Yes. And one way that child within ourselves can't be the superhero and can't be playful enough to resolve situations and heal ourselves, yes, is when we feel entitled to something. Yes. More deserving of. Or not understanding something about our worthiness, or, not having gotten enough of something in our lives and trying to, and all the things that we do because we didn't get enough, whether it's from our upbringing, our parents, our community, yes. And so we try to feed that, yes, with something else. And that's where a lot of addictive behavior can stem, a lot of immaturity, yes, can become. Yo. And if we can just be really honest about what we haven't received enough of, yes, and invite people in to share and to help with that, yeah, yo, as opposed to, again, hiding it, pushing it to the side, yes, finding another source, yo, without addressing the shadow or the spirit of entitlement. So if you're doing shadow work, you got two things to reflect deeply on, to be honest with yourself about how is this coming up for me within myself, how's it coming up in my environment, yes, the energies around me, what is the lesson for me at this time is my prompt. And the last deadly shadow, which I'm very familiar with, is the shadow of control. Our need to control, our need to know how, our need to know, our obsession with things going a particular way, our way. Yes. What we think about, what we know, or how things are supposed to be. Makhosi. There's a certain arrogance that comes with control, that can come with control. But ultimately, I think that we tap into the shadow and the spirit of control because we're scared. Yes. We're afraid. We want to provide. We want to be okay. We want the walls to not fall around us. Yes. But when you're on a real life journey, this is just life. And especially if you're on a spiritual journey and if you're asking for help on a spiritual level, you're asking for things to come down and fall apart. You're asking for something else to come in, another source to come through to support you. Yes. Which calls upon surrender. Yeah, yo. Which challenges your need to control. And have learned really the hard way this year how much trying to control things takes me so far out of myself. Like just who I know and love myself to be. It takes me so far out of my love for life and humanity. Yes. And one of the issues with the shadow of control that I actually want to bring up is how disrespectful it is to nature, the rhythms and the flow of things. How disrespectful the shadow of nature is to water, or something that flows, yes, and changes all the time. Yo, I feel like You know, we say, when we try to control things, we say to Mother Nature, like, you don't got me. Yes, you can't provide. Yes, I don't trust your way. Yo, we're saying to the Divine Mother that we don't trust her. Yes, we don't know her. Yo, that there couldn't be another way. That her medicine isn't genius. Yo, we turn against flow, and we need flow to receive. So one thing I'm deeply addressing within myself, within my prayers, within my rituals, is letting go of the need to control. And really it's about just letting go of working with the spirit of resistance, expectations, just washing it, bathing with the medicines, to just release and let go, and really taking in, you know, I think the winter to me is like this cave space for a lot of us. We just have time to be at home. We have time to be with people. At least some of us do. And so really accepting the slow down, the not needing to know. Yo. Yes. And bringing into the light the shadow of control. So the last message or reflection that I would like to share at this time is, you know, one beautiful way that we can connect and learn from our ancestors at this time, from a more like philosophical perspective, or dream perspective, a visionary perspective. I woke up this morning with, you know, just two really simple but beautiful visions that were connected. In both of these visions, I had the opportunity to learn from the ancestors. It's like there were spirits around that were teachers, yes, and teaching indigenous skills, yes. In the first part, there was this teaching that was occurring, and it's interesting because what was being taught and the skill that I actually received were parallel and connected, but different. It's like something was being taught, me and the community around me was learning it, but what I took away from it was something that I noticed, that I observed, yes, in what was happening. And then in the second scene, I entered into this space where there was an elder who was practicing an indigenous skill. Yes. And I asked him to teach me, you know, that I wanted to learn what he was doing. And he said that I don't teach this. Yes. And I said, you know, I'll just sit down here and watch, and until I learn. And it felt very much in the spirit of like, I will sit here for years and you don't have to say anything to me, and I will just soak you in and soak what you do in. And there was something about the sensation of waking from these visions that brought about like this inspiration and this encouragement from the ancestors and the spirits about, if you let go of the spirit of jealousy, of entitlement and control, and you step into the space of humility, of presence, yes, of just observation, and I feel like Eastern traditions speak about the path of least resistance and the art of allowing. That's what I felt like. I felt like I was in the spirit of just observing and allowing, observing and allowing. And here I was in these two situations where I could deeply learn some things that mean a lot to me. Yes, that mean a lot to how I can serve, that mean a lot to how I can help resolve, how I can help heal, how I can help elevate things within myself and my community. So for those who are willing to sit in that type of seat and be a student of spirit, a student and a child of God, You to just observe without force what the ancestors are saying. And I'm a really, like, I get really excited about learning. Like, I like to ask a lot of questions. I want the information to come this way and that way. And I can be addicted to knowledge as an air sign, as I've spoken about before. And so to tap into this space where it's like, I'm just going to observe and everything will fall into place. Yes. It's true, like, I'm willing to sit for as long as it takes you to truly receive, not control how long it takes, but to just be a witness. You to observe and allow what is here, what is our birthright, what is meant for us to receive, to be received. So those are the words from me. That is the voice that I would like to share at this time, the voices that I would like to share at this time. And I just really hope that, you're taking care of yourself, that you have space to take care of yourself. That this cave of winter, this cave that usually challenges our egos and our shadows, this season that usually challenges our egos and our shadows deeply, is a womb space that can help birth what it is that your heart needs. Tokozani Makhosi, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of the journey that I'm on. And I look forward to connecting soon. Tokozani Makhosi. You.